This video is about famous Shakespearean characters, and I've already started a series on Shakespeare and already made a video on Shakespeare Part 1, that is about his life and his major works, and this is Part 2, that is about his famous characters, including male characters and female characters, fools, couples, and so on. So do subscribe my channel to get more notification on Shakespearean videos on Shakespeare. Hit like if you are satisfied with my video, and leave a comment and do share it with your friends. Name an important character in one of the last plays of Shakespeare who pretends to be a statue. Hermione in Winter's Tale. Now, Hermione is a beautiful queen of Sicilia, who was, who is falsely accused of adultery or extramarital affair by her husband Leontes, and the statue scene appears in Act 5 of the Winter's Tale, and it is one of the most controversial issues in the play, and so. Hermione is the one who pretends to be a statue in the Winter's Tale. Now, name the Shakespearean heroine who committed suicide, Ophelia in Hamlet. And it is not clear that Ophelia actually committed suicide, but she had gone mad after the murder of her father by the man she loved, that is Hamlet, and she accidentally fell into a stream, but she made no effort to save herself, which means she committed suicide. Which Shakespearean character is prone to sleepwalking? Lady Macbeth. So, like Ophelia, she has also gone mad, and she shortly after this sleepwalking scene, she kills herself, and that means she is also another character or character who committed suicide, though it is not confirmed. Okay, no, but Lady Macbeth is a character who dies off stage, and she is prone to sleepwalking, and Macbeth is plagued by insomnia, which means lack of sleep. So Lady Macbeth is prone to sleepwalking, and Macbeth is plagued by insomnia, which means lack of sleep, and that causes a variety of problems in Macbeth. Now, name three military generals who appear as Shakespeare's heroes. Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and Othello. So these are tragedies of Shakespeare, and Julius Caesar is also a history play. So the three military generals who appeared as Shakespeare's heroes: Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and Othello. Who are the star-crossed lovers of Shakespeare? Romeo and Juliet. And the term star-crossed lovers is first coined by Shakespeare in Romeo and Juliet, and the phrase star-crossed is, it means that the stars are working against lovers or the relationship, and those who believe in astrology claim that the stars control human destiny, and that could be the reason why Romeo and Juliet could not lead a life together. So that is why star-crossed lovers of Shakespeare are Romeo and Juliet. Shakespearean hero whose tragic flaw is procrastination, Hamlet. And a tragic flaw, the other term for tragic flaw is hamartia. It is a fatal flaw leading to the downfall of a tragic hero. And the hamartia, or the tragic flaw of Hamlet, is procrastination, which means inability to act. And here Hamlet, Hamlet's delay in punishing Claudius or his uncle is his tragic flaw, that is, delay in avenging his father's death. And when Claudius was seen praying, Hamlet chooses not to kill him. So that way he just postponed his act. That is what procrastination means, postponing what is to be done now. And the tragic flaw of Hamlet is procrastination, and tragic flaw of Macbeth is over ambition. And it is this ambition that leads to his downfall. And Macbeth's tragic flaw is his ambition to become uh, king, okay, and his willingness to do anything to become the king. Now, next is the tragic flaw of Othello, that is jealousy. And tragic flaw of King Lear is arrogance, foolishness, misjudgments. So that is about tragic flaw or hamartia. Who are the two gentlemen of Verona? Valentine and Proteus. So they are best friends, and Two Gentlemen of Verona is a comedy. Um, Next is name the barbarian child of nature in The Tempest, Caliban. So Caliban is a character in The Tempest who is the son of the witch Sycorax. Okay? And Prospero has made Caliban his servant or slave. And Prospero is the Duke of Milan, and he is the protagonist of Tempest. And it is Prospero who made Caliban his slave. Who in King Lear can be called a choral character? The fool. And the fool in King Lear is plays a role of a chorus, and a chorus is a group of people who comment on what is going on in the play, and here the fool also comments on events in the play. So that is why in King Lear the fool is called a choral character. Which character in one of the last plays is usually identified with Shakespeare the dramatist? Prospero. So in Tempest, Prospero is believed, it is believed that the character Prospero in Tempest represents Shakespeare. That is, there are many reasons, but here let's see the words of Prospero. Now my charms are all overthrown. So here's Prospero as a magician is speaking about discontinuing magic. And from these words, it's also believed that these are the words of Shakespeare, or Shakespeare is speaking about his own retirement from the theatre. So that is why it is Prospero is usually identified with Shakespeare. Sheridan's character, Mrs. Malaprop, has her ancestor in the Shakespearean character. So Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. And Mrs. Malaprop is a very famous character of Sheridan in his play The Rival. And Mrs. Malaprop, that is malapropism, is a term or word that comes from the character Mrs. Malaprop. And malapropism is an error in speech. So that is how malapropism comes, because Mrs. Malaprop makes a lot of error while speaking. For example, instead of pinnacle of politeness, she says pineapple of politeness. So that is an error whenever she speaks. So similarly, Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing also makes similar errors. So that is why it is called Sheridan's character, Mrs. Malaprop, has her ancestor in the Shakespearean character. And Dogberry is a constable who watches over the city in Much Ado About Nothing. And Dogberry also makes speech error, like instead of respect, he says suspect. So that is about Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing. Malapropism is an incorrect word used accidentally in place of another word with a similar sound. So this Dogberryism is also a term that is similar to malapropism. Okay? So malapropism is also referred to as Dogberryism, because Dogberry in Much Ado About Nothing also has that speech error, like Mrs. Malaprop in Sheridan's Rival. In which play do Oberon and Titania appear? Who are they? Oberon and Titania appear in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and they are the king and queen of fairies. Who is Shakespeare's Superman? Prospero in the Tempest, because he is a magician and he controls uh, everyone's life, and at the same time he out of magic he can create storm and so many other supernatural activities. So that is why he's called the Superman of Shakespeare. Who is the loyal friend of Hamlet, the only one in whom Hamlet will confide? Horatio. And Horatio, when everyone around Hamlet was trying to bring him down, it was Horatio who stood by him, and uh, he is an example of true friendship and loyalty in the entire play, and he's a best friend, a trustworthy companion. And Horatio helps Hamlet to find out the truth behind his father's death. So he is a loyal friend of Hamlet and the only one in whom Hamlet will confide. Name Romeo's friend who was killed by Tybalt. So Mercutio, and he is one of the most distinctive characters in Romeo and Juliet. Name the heroine disguises herself as a boy in As You Like It. Rosalind. So Rosalind is a heroine and protagonist of the play As You Like It, and she disguised as a shepherd named Ganymede. That is, she dresses up like a boy in the name of Ganymede. Whose ghost haunts Macbeth at a banquet? Banquo. And Macbeth, in his greed for power or lust for power, sees Banquo as a threat and has him murdered. So that is why Banquo's ghost haunts Macbeth. Who is the money lender of the Merchant of Venice? Shylock. So Shylock is a wealthy Jewish money lender, and he's also the antagonist of the play The Merchant of Venice. A fat friend of Prince Hall who appears in The Merry Wives Windsor and Henry IV Parts 1 and 2. Sir John Falstaff, and Sir John Falstaff was one of Shakespeare's most popular characters, and he's also one of the most famous comic characters in all English literature. And Sir John Falstaff appears in three plays, that is The Merry Wives of Windsor and Henry IV Parts 1 and 2. What is the name of Olivia's uncle in Twelfth Night? Sir Toby Belch. So these are a few questions related to Shakespeare's character, and I've also included a few more characters of Shakespeare. I hope that will be helpful for you. So watch it till the end. Here are some more important female characters. Gertrude and Ophelia in Hamlet, Ariel in Tempest, Emilia and Desdemona in Othello, Hermia, Helena and Hippolyta in Midsummer Night's Dream, Princess of France in Love's Labour's Lost, Celia As You Like It, Bianca Taming of the Shrew, Imogen Cymbeline, Beatrice and Hero, Much Ado About Nothing, Lavinia, Titus Andronicus, Paulina and Hermione in Winter's Tale, Portia in both Merchant of Venice and Julius Caesar, and Diana in All Is Well That Ends Well. Here are the main characters: Malvolio and Sir Dobby Belch, and also Sir Andrew Aluchik. Twelfth Night, Titania and Lysander in Midsummer Night's Dream, Tamora in Titus Andronicus, and Volumnia, Coriolanus, Cassio in Othello. Here are a few Shakespearean fools. They are important and hasty. A very important fool in Twelfth Night, a fool who counters Olivia, and the words of Festi. These are important words of Festi. I wear not mortally in my brain. And Touchstone from As You Like It, and he is a Duke Frederick's court jester. Fuck Another Immortal Fool. And Midsummer Night's Dream is also known as Robin Goodfellow or Hobgoblin. Next is a fool in King Lear. The fool in King Lear is unnamed. Okay, and Trinculo in Tempest, who is Alonso's servant, and the words of Trinculo: "I shall laugh myself to death at this puppy-headed monster." Next, a famous or important fool is Nick Bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream, and his words are, "This is to make an ass of me, to fright me if they could." And the famous Nick Bottom is famous for having his head transformed into that of an ass, and he is also a member of mechanicals who are rehearsing a play Pyramus and Thisbe. A famous Shakespearean couples, Benedict and Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, Orlando and Rosalind As You Like It, Duke Orsino and Viola Twelfth Night, the Duke and Isabella Measure for Measure, Bassanio and Portia Merchant of Venice, Oberon and Titania, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Proteus and Juliet, Two Gentlemen of Verona, Leontes and Hermione, Winter's Tale, and Petruchio and Catherine, Taming of Shrew. So these are the famous and important characters of Shakespeare.